After a road win against Penn State, the Hoosiers faced their first major speed bump in the season by losing 5 out of their next 7 games. Despite these setbacks, the Hoosiers never lost their resolve and belief in one another.
They were disappointed in themselves, disappointed in our team's effort.
As painful as those losses are, and as devastating they may seem at the time, when you get on a, kind of a string of losses or a real bad loss like that, I think that those are important. I think they're important later in the season. They're important in a player's development.
No one held their heads down. Everyone was basically like, I've got to do more. I've got to get in here. I've got to do more. And that's exactly what they did.
You didn't have to tell our guys. They knew. They knew we had let down. They knew we had taken some things for granted. And yes, as coaches, we had to remind them, but they knew it. It was just a matter of we've got to change our mind frame again and get back to what was winning to help us early in the season.
It's very easy to gain confidence, and it's very easy to lose confidence. And I thought one of the smartest things that Indiana was able to do was put a game in the schedule, North Carolina Central, which really broke up the Iowa and the Minnesota road trips.
Block shot by Victor Oladipo.
When you go on the road to Iowa and you play bad, and you have to come right back against a North Carolina Central team that, it's in the middle of the week and in February, and your crowd may not be great for that, particular game because it's an early game. You still have to show up and play, and then you knew that you had to go right back on the road again. And I think, by learning from those mistakes and maybe not preparing themselves, to the degree that they had to, I think each player can look back at that and say, all right, it's not hard to go back and watch the film and see what I looked like back then or what we looked like collectively as a team, and we need to correct that.
Indiana's grit and determination manifested itself in grand fashion with a comprehensive 78-61 victory on the road against rival Purdue.
The change to Purdue was huge. There was so much hype just in the locker room and then just around study hall about that game.
I'm not going to lie, man. I love beating Purdue. Love beating them in Mackey Arena. And for me, that was one of the most gratifying games of the season, especially the way we won. Toughness on the road, defense, never say and die, answering every charge, hostile environment. That was a real testament that these boys were becoming men.
And I think when that game was over, we walked out knowing we were a very tough mentally team that could handle anything, because I've walked to some pretty good environments, and when you're on the road, that was about as tough as we could walk into.
The 5 players on the floor knew exactly what needed to be done, how it needed to be done. If there was a substitution, that component that was switched out was able to come in and do exactly what was needed.
Remy shot. How many times do you tell guys sitting on that bench, you never know when it's going to be your opportunity? And he got his opportunity and he was ready, and he really had played a great game.
Coming in here and looking at all the fans and stuff like that, it kind of reminded me of that. It was a little different, but I really enjoyed it.
Throughout the year, we had different guys step up. It was Remy that night. It was the first time that us freshmen had played at Purdue, so it was definitely a memorable game for us.
From there, the Hoosiers closed out the Big Ten slate with impressive win after impressive win, knocking off the likes of Michigan State and Purdue on Senior Day.
How great are the guys that didn't always play, and the whole bench mob phenomenon, which got a big booster shot when Jim Harbaugh, the NFL Coach of the Year, and one game away from the Super Bowl and all that, is on the bench and just can't help himself, and he's up there, wiping the floor up and getting chairs back and forth, and I think that really reinforced the concept that you can very significantly contribute even if you're not getting minutes in the games.
It is about having enthusiasm, enjoying the moment, being a part of wins like at Purdue, and knowing you get the satisfaction because you helped with your enthusiasm, how hard you worked in practice, how tough you made it on those guys getting ready for games like Purdue. And so there's no question they were a big key in what we did.
They're just in this together, and that's what the bench mob signifies. It just shows that we're all in this together, and nobody has any less of a part of this than anyone else. I think that the leadership of some of those guys was very obvious to me on a day-to-day basis, especially the seniors, you know, Tom and Corey and Dan, and Matt, and it was fun to watch those guys take that role and be completely fine with it, because in the end they knew that the team victory was all that they ever wanted.
And Hoosiers being Hoosiers, they love that, right? They love the underdog. They love the contributor that may not get a lot of the limelight, and I think that helped that become the appropriate phenomenon that it was.
As I ran out of the tunnel onto the court, my last game in the greatest venue in all of sport, I reminisce of all the blood, sweat, and tears, and being the #1 Wildcats amongst all the cheers. As a senior, the wins over Kentucky and Purdue definitely top off the list. What's even better is a national championship banner in Lafayette just doesn't exist. No matter where I go, no matter what I do, I'll always be a Hoosier. Thank you.
The first 5, if you will, the seniors who graduated this year, their contributions are almost immeasurable, not only because a lot of them produced on the floor, but because they stuck with the program, they didn't bail out, they believed, they fought through the hard times, and they were there to help the younger guys now know what it's like, know what to expect, and that there's something on the other side.
In closing, you've heard every one of them talk, paraphrasing now, about the ups and the downs. And they're there. They're in all of our lives. Everybody deals with them. It's never about staying down. It's never about being knocked over. It's never about the adversity, all right, overtaking you. It's about fighting back day by day, making it better day after day, so that moments like this today can happen, and all 5 of these members and our managers can stand here in honor in front of you because of the way they have helped bring Indiana basketball back. Thank you. Thank you.
The Hoosiers headed to the Big Ten tournament with the knowledge that regardless of outcome, they were securely in the field of 68 for the NCAA tournament. The Hoosiers back on the map, playing in an IU town, it should have been perfect. But the storybook script took a tragic turn as stalwart Verdell Jones went down with a season-ending injury.
Coach, can you just talk about what you know specifically at this point about Verdell?
Well, he's being evaluated now, and we've got a great team of doctors that were with him, obviously right away. And I was hopeful when he went down that it wasn't as significant, but I'm going to keep holding out that hope. But I don't obviously feel good about that. And you know, we've prayed numerous times. It's in the doctor's hands. It's in God's hands, and we're going to just absolutely hope for the best with him.
When you see him go down and you see him lay there, you know it's not just something that, you know, hey, this is going to be 1 or 2 days. You just kind of have that feeling in your stomach.
That really hit me hard. It really did, because one of the guys that really changed his body and changed the way he was Verdell.
I knew what he worked for, and you know how long he definitely dedicated, you know, his body and just his, you know, his play toward our team, and you know, to see him go down, it really did hurt me.
I mean, to be honest with you, it was one of the saddest things, pretty much in that locker room. One of the saddest days I've ever, you know, been. You know, I mean, it was like a big brother. He was like my big brother, getting hurt before he could reach his dreams. You know, it meant so much to him. You know, I know he wanted to be there, right, and be on the court playing with us. And shoot, who knows? You know, we could have made it really far if he would have played. You know, so because he was a big asset to our team, a huge asset. Without him, we wouldn't have won a lot of games.
Here's a kid who, you know, weighed like 158 pounds or something when he got here, and you know, bulked up, scored over 1,000 points. When probably on most Indiana teams, he wouldn't be a kid who's asked to score 1,000 plus points, and then and beyond the fact that he was a really important part of the team, for him to not be there when the rest of the guys actively went to the other side of the mountain was tragic.
You wanted to see Verdell have that same success as his teammates, the same feelings that they were having, and to be a part of winning on the floor, and he wasn't going to have that.
To get himself into a position of where our team was and to see him go down, that was just, your heart goes out to a guy like that.
Devastating as that was, as refreshing it was to see him, 2-3 days later, jumping right back in it with the team, and that was really on him because, you can tell a player, hey, you have to stay close to your teammates, you have to stay in it, but he really embraced it.
He handled it, I thought, as well as anybody could possibly handle it. He was still acted as a part of the team, acted as a leader, still encouraged his teammates and talked to his fellow players about what they needed to do.
And he came helping us off the court when we would come off out of the game, and on the bench he would tell us what his inputs are and what he thinks I need to do, especially me, because I had to handle the ball because he was handling the ball.
He was there every second of the way, and he was as vocal 3, 4, 5 days after that when you knew he had to be suffering. I mean, it had to be really tough days, probably really long nights for him and his family to kind of put himself out there, because he made more sacrifices probably after he got injured to really take himself out of the equation and really just be part of the team, and that was great to see.